20 years ago, I embarked on a very memorable adventure. For the first time ever, gaming was portable for me, and I could carry my adventures wherever I went. Pokémon Red and Blue were all the craze, and battling your peers via link cable swept the neighborhood. Thinking back, it's kind of interesting to think about how much time has passed, but how amazing these childhood memories still feel. Those songs are burned into our brains and we'll never forget them. They remind me of feeling unstoppable as a child, and how we existed in only that present moment, and that's all that mattered. Fast forward 20 years, and there's a new craze sweeping the neighborhood, except to a much larger scale. Pokémon GO just launched last week, and the reaction from the world has been incredible. I've been watching from the sidelines for a few days now, and just dove into the adventure myself. But taking a step back from the action, I noticed something. There's a breath of change overcoming the nation. Now, I know this may sound silly, but hear me out on this. I think Pokémon GO is changing society. You see, as I'm sure you may have read online already, Pokémon GO is actually getting people to do just that. Go places. Now, you may be saying, Swanky, people could always go outside and go places. This isn't anything new or revolutionary. Well, you're right, but in all of this, purpose is the deciding factor, and it comes on many fronts. You see, not everyone had a purpose before, and it's easy to judge them on that without really thinking about it. That person outside catching Pokemon might have trouble talking to people due to social anxiety. Or perhaps depression has had such a crippling grip on them that they never saw the purpose in going outside. But through the elements of a game, they are out exploring a world they closed off long ago. They are able to meet like-minded people on that same journey, and really get to see that the world can be a beautiful place. Friendships they never would have established before are discovered, and for once, they don't have to hide something they love in fear of being judged. Knowing that people are gathering for the joy of Pokemon is really a welcoming thing. On top of that, there's also the health benefits of being active with the app. From having to walk several kilometers to hatch an egg, to checking out various locations. And that's just the beginning. We live in such a beautiful world that is worth exploring, and I can't stress that enough. We spend all of our time in front of screens, and while I do love video games and all things holy on the internet, we also need to disconnect. Now obviously, Pokémon GO is not full immersion in our world because you still carry it around with you on a screen, but it still gets you to go to these places. And while you can check it periodically to see where you're at and where you want to go, you can also save battery life by not viewing the screen and simply responding when your phone vibrates. But regardless, you're still there, and being there is the first step. You see, I love to travel. I love to explore places nearby and afar and see what our world has to offer. But one thing I noticed in all my adventures in the United States is that I'm the only one there for my generation, besides who I'm traveling with. I'm honestly an old soul, and I've always been one. The people we meet there are usually much older than us. This was always incredibly sad to me. I would often think that our generation should be here as well, but they aren't. However, maybe Pokémon GO will change that. Now, I'm not saying this is an amazing solution at all, but it will give these old places new purpose and make them relevant again for the younger generation. While they are out exploring the world reliving their childhood catching Pokémon, they will get a taste that our world is an amazing one. Even if their main purpose for attending was initially to collect a rare Pokémon, visit a particular gym, or even a Pokéstop. These things are typically tied to notable locations and are worth visiting on their own without even the bonus incentive in-game. On a separate note, and although some people may disagree with me on this, which is totally fine, Pokémon GO is sort of picking up where Undertale left off. Undertale at its core was about understanding one another, and that violence doesn't have to be the answer. Now, while I'm sure this isn't the first title to spread this message, it did create quite a stir in the gaming community and a lot of people learned from it. It had an impact on society. In my eyes, Pokémon GO sort of enables another step in the process, which is actually getting out there to meet each other and go places. Obviously, it doesn't carry the same pacifism traits since your Pokémon are fighting each other, but in terms of how it's affecting society, it's just doing it in a different way. But of course, with all these positives, there are bound to be some negatives. Since Pokémon GO has come out, I've noticed that some people are a bit more reckless on the freeway. While it may be a great game at enabling exploration and discovery, too much of a good thing can be bad, as some people are foregoing their own safety and the safety of others in order to catch Pokémon. I've seen a few bulletins online already from police departments encouraging people to be smart about their Pokemon Go endeavors. If texting wasn't distracting enough, pulling over on the side of the road randomly to try to catch a Pokemon is really a horrible idea. Certain people are no longer focused on actual driving and are more concerned about catching a Pokemon, and that can have fatal consequences. In some ways, there's also the issue of privacy too. As more features roll out with this game, it makes me wonder what kind of privacy issues will come with it. Having an app that is constantly expressing your location is kinda scary in the wrong hands. Many people share screenshots with their trainer names, which in turn may be tied to their online profiles. It reminds me of how Facebook used to submit your coordinates with every message sent through Messenger, where someone could literally track you at all times if they knew the ins and outs of the website. Alongside that, seeing how Pokemon gyms or Pokestops are in specific areas, would this also be a catalyst for increased thefts? A thief would know someone would come there in the dead of night exploring. Obviously this is all hypothetical, but I have heard some reports of this happening. So my apologies if I got you worried. It's just something to keep in mind for your own safety. Regardless of all this though, for both good and bad, Pokemon Go is changing society around us, even if it may seem minuscule in nature. I wouldn't be surprised if laws and regulations change if car accidents increase over time due to Pokemon Go use while driving. Overall, please don't do that. It's very reckless. But negatives aside, there's something magical happening in the world right now that is kinda cool to be a part of. The dreams of yesterday are now the reality of today, although in an augmented reality kind of way. Both young and old are coming together to experience something together. People are going out and about and exploring the world, from places grand to the small towns they grew up in. They are building relationships that they may have never normally got to know, and for some, they are seeing the light of our world for the first time in a long time, without peering outside a cloud of depression. It's truly an amazing thing, and I'm curious to see how it grows in the future. But, now that I've dumped that on all of you, I'd of course love to hear your thoughts on this topic. What fond memories do you hold dear from Pokemon? How has Pokemon Go affected your life, whether it be simply for fun or for other reasons? And last, how do you think society will adapt as the game continues to grow? Do you think society is changing at all because of it? Obviously, most of the things in this video are from my point of view, but yours is just as important. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Or you can always share your thoughts with me on Twitter as well. I want to give a huge shout out to MrSirPandorama for lending me their musical talents for this video. The two amazing Pokemon orchestrations you heard in this video were made by them, and I instantly fell in love with the tracks after listening. I strongly recommend you give them another listen as they are pure nostalgic bliss. I've put links to them in the description below. And with that, thanks for tuning in to my analysis of Pokemon Go. If you'd like to join me on my YouTube voyage and help me become the very best like no one ever was, then the subscribe button is just what you're looking for. Thanks for watching guys and gals, and until my next video, cheers. You've made it to the end of the video, but wait, your quest isn't over yet. If you're looking for some nostalgic fun, why not check out my video about mishearings in video games? Or rather, both videos. We often mishear lyrics in songs in real life, but we also did the same thing to video games when we were younger. Does anyone really know what Mario was saying when he threw Bowser in Mario 64? Me neither. If that doesn't tickle your fancy, you can always check out my video from last week about how the portal gun works. Most people logically default to wormholes, but we take a different approach in this video. As always, there's a slew of other videos on my channel too, so regardless, I hope you enjoy.